Police are looking at a possible new lead in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
Oh, hopefully this is going to find her. I don't know. Dan Bowens, what do you know? Could it help crack the case?
Well, we hope so, Rosanna and Jerry. There's been no shortage of tips, tens of thousands, in fact, but investigators say meaningful leads, yeah, they've been hard to come by, even after the family offered that $1 million reward earlier this week. Now, there is a new video that could provide a fresh clue. Let's take a look.
We were told the family was not involved. That was the official word. But being ruled out as a suspect is not the same as having all questions answered. One particular family member's actions throughout this ordeal have raised red flags the media has been hesitant to explore. And that person is Cameron Guthrie. By this video's conclusion, you'll see precisely why he's come into focus. Let me state, all information that follows is from documented official sources, FBI reports, Sheriff's Department briefings, and experts cited by networks like Fox, CNN, NBC, and News Nation. The Pima County Sheriff's Office and the FBI have officially cleared the entire Guthrie family, Cameron included. We are not pointing fingers or leveling any accusations here. This remains an active federal case, a fact we respect completely. We are simply raising questions that the public record itself seems to pose. Here's the timeline. January 31st, 2026. 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie has dinner with her daughter Annie in Tucson, Arizona. Her son-in-law, Tommaso, brings her home. The garage door activates at 9:48 p.m. and shuts at 9:50 p.m. This is the last time anyone can confirm seeing Nancy Guthrie alive. At 1:47 a.m., February 1st, her doorbell camera cuts out. It wasn't a glitch. It was manually disabled. Someone physically removed it. Then, at 21 a.m., a different motion sensor on the premises registered activity. No video, no backup, just a digital trace in the night. 16 minutes later, at 2:28 a.m., Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker stops communicating with its phone app, and then she vanishes completely. Over 54 days, investigators sorted through 40 to 50,000 separate tips. They found DNA inside the home that belongs to neither Nancy nor her close family and friends. They've also released video of a masked, armed individual who remains unidentified. Yet while global attention has been fixed completely on this shadowy figure, another person's conduct in this case warrants just as much examination. Someone visible enough to be seen, yet silent enough to escape deep scrutiny. Nancy's son, Cameron Guthrie. This is what we know about Cameron Guthrie from the public record. His sister, Savannah, in her first interview since their mother vanished, portrayed him as a man who dedicated his life to military service, with a background in intelligence and as a fighter pilot. The word she used for him? Brilliant. In the family's formal signed statement, Cameron's name appears with Christine's, listed first, ahead of Annie, Tommaso, Savannah, and Michael. But here's what the public record fails to mention. Cameron Guthrie has given no solo interviews since his mother vanished. Not a single one. For 54 days, in a case gripping the nation, Nancy Guthrie's son, R., a man whose career was in military aviation and intelligence, has, according to his sister, remained completely out of the public eye. Nearly. But certain instances saw Cameron emerge from the shadows, and a closer look at these moments brings up more questions than resolutions. What comes next changes everything, so stay with us. The initial instance is taken from Savannah's own interview, the first time she spoke publicly after her mother disappeared. In it, she recounts phoning Cameron the instant she learned their mother was gone. Pay close attention to her words. You see, my brother, he was military his whole life. An intelligence officer, a fighter pilot. He's incredibly smart, and he understood immediately what had happened. And on the phone, right when I called, he already knew. And he told me, I think she's been kidnapped for ransom. He was certain, not just guessing, not just afraid. He was sure before investigators had briefed the family, before a ransom demand appeared, before forensics were even looked at. After one late-night phone call, Cameron Guthrie instantly lands on the conclusion. Kidnapping for ransom. Now, there are two different ways you can interpret this. The first interpretation is that he's a skilled professional. His entire job was about seeing patterns in high-stress situations. He gets the rundown. Open door, blood on the porch, camera ripped out, phone left behind. And his experience helps him connect the dots faster than most people. That's a perfectly reasonable take. But there's a second view, one that the true crime world has been quietly considering, which is that the quickness and detail of his theory is odd, even considering his past experience, since, in that initial moment, the information they had was limited. They had only just discovered the blood. The scene was still being processed. Despite this, his judgment was immediate. Not simply taken, but taken for money. But there's something else that makes this detail hard to ignore. It goes beyond what Cameron deduced. It's about his follow-up statement. Pay attention to this. I refused to believe it. I just asked, "Do you think this is because of me?" And he answered, "I'm sorry, honey, but it's possible." Her thought was, "But I knew that." His reply, "I'm sorry, honey, but perhaps." Within moments of finding out his mother was gone, all in a single call, Cameron had already drawn two conclusions at once. First, that it was a ransom kidnapping, and second, that Savannah was the reason. Not due to anything about Nancy herself, or the area, or the situation, but due to Savannah's celebrity and money. Such a specific theory, so fast, based on scant information. And then Savannah delivered the sentence that gave me real pause. She said, "But I knew that." Not, "That figures," or "That never occurred to me." She says, "But I knew that." Past tense, implying she knew the answer before she even asked. Two people, minutes into an unfolding tragedy. Both reach the same, precise motive before any investigator speaks. I'm posing a question, not an accusation, but that pattern warrants scrutiny. Then there's the second time Cameron took center stage, an appearance that has received almost no attention. Just 4 days into his mother's disappearance, on February 5th, he put up a solo video on Savannah's Instagram. This wasn't a unified family plea, but a personal message aimed right at the abductors. He said, verbatim, "Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact. We are waiting for contact." This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact. Now, Andrew McCabe, a former FBI deputy director, was unequivocal about the family's public messages at the time. He was absolutely certain that each and every word in those statements was meticulously developed with help from skilled FBI hostage negotiators and seasoned agents. Each word was picked for a reason, meaning the phrase, "We are waiting for contact," was no mistake. Cameron delivered a message that was specifically engineered by hostage negotiation experts. But with 3 siblings, the unanswered question is this: why pick Cameron? Why select the person his own sister said had an intelligence background to send that precise message straight to the kidnappers? Did his history lend him a unique credibility as a messenger, especially to someone familiar with him? Or was it the negotiator's belief that his particular voice would have a different impact on the person listening? Or could there have been a completely different motive? Following those initial appearances, Cameron Guthrie practically vanishes from the public eye. No solo interviews, no independent statements, absolutely nothing. And then the critical moment arrived that clarified everything for me. On March 2nd, 2026, 30 days into the search, for the first time, Savannah, Annie, and her husband Tommaso went to NY's house. They placed yellow flowers on the memorial, and Annie could be heard crying. Savannah bent down, reading the messages that strangers had left behind. This stands out as the case's most heart-wrenching public display. And Cameron Guthrie was absent. NY's son, the one Savannah called his mother's greatest protector, was missing from the most prominent display of sorrow during the entire investigation. Without any reason given or statement made, he just wasn't present. 8 days later, on March 10th, Annie and Cameron paid a short, low-key visit to the property. Different cars, a short visit, a fast exit. Savannah was absent, Tommaso too. One absence can be explained, a pattern of deliberate public exposure. Showing up when required, but disappearing during emotional moments. That points to something else. And someone whose career was in military aviation knows exactly how to handle their public image while being watched. Now, let's revisit Savannah's interview again, because certain things were said, both in what she mentions about Cameron and what she omits, which I believe are the case's most ignored clues. When Hoda brings up the topic of family involvement, Savannah is quick to defend her siblings. But pay attention to her words. And my sister and brother-in-law gave my mom the absolute best care. And my brother was my mom's greatest protector. Two justifications, yet framed in completely different ways. Annie and Tommaso's care for Nancy is described as a continuing bond. It's active and present. Cameron's role was protection. That is past tense, and the word protected, not loved, helped, or supported, suggests a function, a job, not an emotional connection. And this brings me to a point I haven't seen anyone else make. Savannah becomes emotional and cries several times during that interview. She offers an apology to her sister and recalls embracing Annie upon her arrival in Tucson. She refers to herself, Annie, and Cameron collectively as a single unit. Yet every emotional story she shares focuses on Annie, never on Cameron. I need to be extremely clear here. This is simply an analysis of her public remarks, not a claim about their private relationship. Savannah and Cameron could have had many private discussions we know nothing about. But during a 54-day national ordeal, and the one and only interview she gave, the image she creates of her brother is surprisingly functional. Not heartbroken or devastated, but functional. A person who grasped the situation instantly, who responded without hesitation, and who strategically vanished from view. A man his own sister portrays with precision rather than affection. This leads to the central question this entire analysis has been heading toward. Johnny Gruing, a 25-year veteran of the FBI, and the expert who helped catch the Golden State Killer, proposed a theory that the person on the porch was known to Nancy Guthrie. He believes that Nancy knew who was at her door, and it was that recognition, that sudden moment of identification, that caused the situation to unravel. Former FBI criminology professor Brianna Fox, after watching the security video, said the suspect walked up casually as if he lived there. It was the walk of an individual who was confident that their presence at that house at that time of night would be welcomed by Nancy Guthrie. Former FBI agent Steve Moore stated it plainly. This is the very first time this individual has committed an act like this. This is an ordinary person from daily life, someone already in a system, who rehearsed this in his mind and then carried it out in the real world for the first time. Sheriff Nanos confirmed. We think we understand his motive and that she was the specific target. In a later interview, he used a term investigators weigh carefully: revenge. And former FBI Special Agent Maureen O'Connell commented, "Those on the case know much more than we are aware of. They have uncovered something major. Their issue might just be proving it. The challenge isn't finding or identifying a suspect. It's about proof. And this gap between knowing something and proving it is exactly where the case currently stands. The recognition theory hinges on it being someone Nancy would let inside at 2 a.m. The personal motive theory suggests a reason that has nothing to do with money. And the behavioral analysis points to a perpetrator who had no prior history of such crimes. Model. This investigation demands someone from inside NY's world. I won't point out who matches that description. It is an established fact that the family was exonerated. But I will tell you, when you look at everyone in Nancy Guthrie's orbit, there's a single individual whose public record creates more questions than answers, and that is her son. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She was abducted at night in her sleepwear, missing her shoes and all of her medicine. The woman has a pacemaker. On her best day, she could barely get to the mailbox. Former FBI Special Agent Maureen O'Connell stated that investigators have a major lead. Their main obstacle might just be proving it. They're constructing their case. They're gathering proof. They're closing the distance between their theory and what's presentable in court. As of now, the investigation remains active, and every new development brings both hope and tension. Detectives continue to follow leads, re-examine evidence, and piece together moments that may finally reveal the truth. Yet, the silence surrounding what really happened still lingers. For the family, each passing day is a painful reminder that answers are still out of reach. But this case is not cold. It is evolving. Somewhere, the truth exists. And as long as there are questions, there will be people searching for answers, refusing to let this story fade into the dark. If you know something, anything, you must call the FBI tip line this instant. 1-800-CALL-FBI or the Puma County tip line at 523-5149. $1.1 million is offered for information that leads to Nancy's return. Now then, post your own theory in the comments, as the question posed by this video can be answered. For cases like this, it's often the comments where the solution first comes to light. Subscribe and activate alerts, because when this story breaks, you will want to be here.